back to 320. This time we're going to be modeling from scratch. We're getting from an old book an adjustable clip, if I can find that. That's what it looks like. We're going to be doing this in a sort of very particular way. We're going to introduce some new concepts in this. One thing that we're going to be kind of worried about is this kind of confluence of surfaces coming together at the back of this corner. We're going to try and stick to fairly routine standard CAD. We're going to use a bit of surfacing to in a kind of overt way. And once we're done, we'll talk a little bit about placing some fasteners from two places and a little bit of flow lines with this crease here, which is a little bit disconcerting. So just keep an eye on this stuff from time to time. I suppose I could try and copy this stuff, I suppose. I'll just kind of give it a name that makes sense and just go from here. So over to CAD. I'm going to put it in a certain place. You can see I've done a practice run here. I'm actually going to save this design, which is untitled right now, in its place here and just call it an adjustable clip. And, might go wrong. Let's call it 2025. No, let's not. Let's call it 1. So, and apologies if you hear clicking noises. I'm still a little sick and I've got a lozenge in my mouth here. So, there's our file. It's in the right spot. Who cares from now on? Now, let's have a look at this guy. There's two, obviously, there's probably going to be two driving sketches here. We could maybe do it in one. That might be later in the semester, but for now, let's go old school. 2 sketches with an angle in between. Now, the question is, do we do the sketches all at once, bend them later, or do them separate? Let's do them separate for this time. There's other ways to do this, but we'll stick with this more obvious way. Now, let's go with on parallel to the front, put the first sketch on there. I have mine set so it doesn't revolve to look, or rotate to look at it, but you can always pick look at. It's got a kind of rectangle here. Angles. I'm going to put the origin in the center of this, I think. Not one side is any clearly more important than the other. This one's more obvious and presented to us in the sketch as flat. So we'll do it like so. So we'll do this one first, second. Start with a rectangle. And we see here we've got millimeters going on. If we didn't see that, if you do this, that's millimeters. Escape out of that. First thing we have to do is change the units. Right now it's in millimeters. The sketch is supplied in inch. So let's go to inch. Okay. Now if we go ahead here and look at, for example, 4. Let's do a dimension from edge to edge, of course. And type in 4, and again, depending on your defaults and your settings, it should zoom the whole thing up to fit and center it in your screen. Okay, not sure where it is yet. Let's keep on trucking. 3 3/4 across the top. Out here, there's nothing more of interest, so that's our max. 3 3/4. Now, in Fusion, to do that, you can just type it out, but just 3 space 3 divided by 4. It'll do the calculation for you, but if you look at it again, you still see what you typed in. 3 3/4 and then inch as a unit added for us. Nice. 1.5 from the corner at the bottom. We've got a line. Just going to stick it on and to the vertex of the other side. Check again. 1.5. So we can go from the edge, but no, we might cut that off. So 1 and 1/2. Oh, not a fifth. Makes sense to put the origin in the middle of this line here. We can use one constraint for that midpoint. Either or, you can pick it in any order you wish. We'll snap it there. Now this is a little strange move we're about to do here. Out here there's nothing in the back for this shape. We don't care about anything further out here. We've got 2 profiles. I don't want 2 profiles. I would like to keep everything under control nicely. However, I don't want to lose geometry that I've tried to make here or sketched out. One thing we can do is kind of manage our profiles by making one of these edges construction. Doesn't change anything, our geometry is still intact, everything's good, but we now have only one profile to run with. I know what's coming. We're going to be using some surfacing and we're going to be picking this profile. If we keep this profile managed properly, we can actually get some efficiencies out of Fusion in a sort of very kind of fancy way without really making a big deal about it. So let's do this way. So I've just made this back edge construction. It's still there. Like if we want that profile back, just switch it back. But for now, doing things well. Oh, sorry, hold on. I'm not using my cursor. Nor my, what's it called? Suddenly forgot the name of this guy. You're going to be able to see the inside of my computer here. Sorry about that. Let's see if that works now. There we go. So, sorry, not using the right stuff. Now we've got our stuff running properly and everything's looking good here. So that's fine. That's enough for the sketch. Let's have a look at what we want to see here. 135 degrees across the sort of maximum angle here. Again, let's stick to old school CAD. Let's just make a plane for us to sketch on. Now, tidiness of modeling in the history down here, I'm going to be inevitably stuck with a construction here, right? Because I do want to make a plane. So if we look up here, if we finish our sketch, we want to do that angle. There's construction. Plane at angle, of course. Now, it's going to assume, if we pick a line in the sketch we just finished, it's going to assume that we're bending the plane of that sketch, this guy, around. Pick an edge. You can see it starts off at 0. Let's just try typing in 135. You can see it does what we want, right? It's on the right side because of some things that we picked in the beginning. We're on the front, we're sketching on the front and all that stuff. It tends to put it in the right spot for us. In this case, in the way that most things are end modeled. If you want, you can do a little test here. You can drag it around. But what we're after is 135. It'll snap to 135, which is 90 plus 45, of course. Once you're happy with that, say okay. You'll notice you get something in history for that. It's fine. And we want to keep a track on our sketches. While I'm here, before I start, because I'm going to do another sketch, I want to name this sketch. I'll slow double click. Usually for me, profile, and I'll call this front. We're about to add another sketch to this plane we just did. I'm going to call that something else. So right click on our new plane, create sketch. Anytime we can rename this. I'm going to call this profile. Inclined, it's probably a good word. Sketch is run, it's fine. Now, unlike SOLIDWORKS, Fusion is made by Autodesk, and they have this attitude of trying to keep things a little bit more overt. Notice that the origin has shifted here. We have this edge, if you look up here. See that Y is green? Y is green here, but it's shifted. It's now perpendicular to what this new red, which is X. So we've got this X, Y, and it's rotated around to match our plane because we use this line to make the plane, which is holding the sketch, if that makes sense. This is a little disconcerting to me, always has been. It can kind of reverse if you go to a certain amount of angle. So if you go back in later and shift the plane, we're going to be completely sure that it's good. Well, maybe not, maybe yes. Let's be careful. I'm going to project this line because it's going to get reused. There it is. You can turn these off and on. Good thing is we can use it for construction or for geometry. I'm going to draw 4 edges here which are in no way connected or perpendicular or anything. All right, so I'm going to avoid perpendicularity, parallelness, all that sort of stuff. I'm just going to connect them. I'm going to use constraints to get what I really want. So perpendicular down here, perpendicular over here. Now, still not completely controlled, escape ones. So I can, right. So I want to create a nice chain of constraints. I'm going to not go perpendicular, 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 go to one of these guys. It doesn't matter which one. Now we know that these are parallel. Another way to do that is actually say, let's make these parallel. This references back all the way to the original projected line. This is safer, you could argue, because then if the line does move, this will all move with it. Perfect. This part is 2 3/8 from the projected out to the edge, 2 3/8. So right, 2 3/8, 3 3/4. Everything looks good. Again, as usual with Colin, we're going to do iterative things, so not worrying about the holes yet or these fillets out here. Just trying to set it up so it's right. Finish the sketch. Notice they're both fully defined, simple sketches. And we've set up our geometry correctly. Now, let's try a thicken. Sometimes we don't know where it is, so S for shortcut, thicken. Start typing it. There we go. Can we pick? Oh, it won't let us pick something. What it's asking for is faces. We don't have faces yet. Right, we just have sketches. So it needs a face. It needs a surface body. So you might have noticed before up here in the toolbar, there are the what do we call this in Windows? The ribbon, I suppose. We've got solid, which we've been working inside of surface. Ooh, mesh, sheet metal, plastic, utilities. This is all kind of hidden in the interface in Fusion. And if you click these, you'll see, oh, there is a lot of stuff hidden in here. Go to surface. Hover over them for a second, it'll show you patch, boundaries into surfaces, extrude a surface. This one's interesting. Trying surface to make a single surface body or solid body. Keep in mind we've got this here, so we're going to do this in steps. Patches first. Can we pick 2? Well, all it's asking for is boundary edges. Now we can make a 3D sketch for those who are into that sort of stuff, but basically we can try this. Why don't we try 2? What does it make for us? Inside of bodies? It makes 2. So they are separated. So if we try a thicken here, let's go back to solid, and it's under, I think, a create. Thicken. Right, it doesn't pick them both. I'm trying to select them one after the other. All it does is makes this, you want to use this face to control the depth of this guy. This is all very complicated the way it works. You have to be quite methodical. That's what it's doing. But this is not what we want. Go back to surface. We have to stitch these 2 bodies together. So bodies, in surface bodies, tend to have to be stitched. If you have a solid, like if you have a grouping of them that would define a volume, it will make a volume. For us, we just have 2. Pick them either in the what do you call this? The screen or in the browser. If everything's good, it'll show you a green line, meaning that they're tidy enough, close enough, that they can be stitched easily. We just did this. You can change this tolerance. This is for later stuff. But for now, everything looks kosher because we just made it kosher. Say, okay. It'll think for a second. It's actually doing a bunch of checks. And all of a sudden you go from one body to two bodies to one. Try to thicken again. If I can actually type correctly. There it is. Now we can pick this one body. Oh, nice. How long is it? 5/8. If I just type in 5/8, that's not the right way. So that's the positive. What I want is a negative, because I want it to go back into the body, into the volume here. The same as our reference sketch. So we've been sketching on these surfaces. make sure the thicken goes the right way. It's good. Now, again, we're doing old school here. Next big thing are the holes in the fillets. Let's do the fillets first. F for fillet. Pick those corners. You can pick through if you know where you're going. And we're at, what are these guys? 3/4. 3 divided by 4. Easy. Just go with rolling ball, tangent weight, standard, constant, radius type, all that stuff. Say okay. We're kind of burning through the history here, but we've got some good stuff. Right? It's not bad. So we've done some work: sketch, plane, sketch, surface, stitch, thicken, fillet. It's not too bad. So we're doing okay. Notice this face here. Is it close to our sample? So let's try and get close to our sample. Let's go to the top. Just click the view cube itself between top and front. Have a look. They show this. Right, so we have a flatness here, edge kind of pointing, well, it looks like perpendicular to this face, and a corner kind of fairly vague in there, but there is a corner. There's our corner. So the thicken does give us a good standard result. It's quite nice. All in one pass. No trimming required or any fiddling around. Perfect for this part, for this model. It's good for us. Now, next is these holes. Again, the temptation is to draw another sketch on the planes and all that stuff. Why would we do that? That's insane. So let's reuse our sketches, because Colin says so, and we'll draw this 5/8 slot. You can kind of, if you can see the sketch, you can see it gets highlighted here. Let's just right click on that guy. And can we get anything here? Right, so there's a bit of a problem because the profiles are all going through and all the rest. So it's easier to pick in here in the browser, edit sketch. Have a look at it. What do we have to sketch here? It's a slot. Now, of course, S for search or shortcut, add slot. There's a bunch of slots. Excuse me. We have a center to center. They're giving us these dimensions, so use that one. First is our center line. Snap that vertical. Or if you want, you can go crazy and, you know, like live on the edge and just make it like so. So get the geometry right first. I'm going to force this to be horizontal. Another way, and again, the argument is parallel. It's up to you. So I'm going with parallel. See how they dimension 5/8 across these flats. Let's do that. But where is it? No, we have to position this slot, and they don't give us anything about where it is from the top and bottom. We have to assume it's centered. So let's do that. Now, easy way to do that is to actually put a point in the center. It'll be kind of where that, see this guy, there it is. That's what you're after. It'll be close to that constraint. Now, we don't have any lines to attach. However, we could just say, we can go horizontal, which is fine, to the origin. But dangerous, again, what if we move something? So to be safe, ultra safe, as always, draw another line, make it construction, and make it parallel to something. I'm making a point here, so let's go to the top edge. If I can actually select my lines. Nice. Next, the length of that, 1 3/4, diameter, dimension, 1 3/4. And it's 3/8 from the corner, so 3/8. Now, this is a fairly strange dimension. Oh, getting some strange now. 3/8. Now, that's a hard thing to measure to. One thing you can do is toggle this to driven, which allows it to be moved around again. I'm getting some serious lag here again. I'm going to stop my cursor, see if that does it. I have a suspicion about that cursor. Maybe it's not that guy. I'm stopping my screencaster. Something's going on. That's right. Anyway, undo back to where we were. One thing you can do is make it driven and then actually find what the dimension is to the other side. So dimension to the outside edge, which might be more useful. Better known as, what is that, 1 1/8. Perfect. Leave that there. Everybody's happy. Finish the sketch. Nothing happens, unfortunately. However, if we surface patch, you notice it picks it up now. Just leave it and say okay. All you have to say is okay. Nice. Great. Perfect. Let's do the same to the next sketch. Same sort of approach. It's kind of like the same slot, but 2 holes instead. Let's edit the sketch. I'm going to start off with 2 circles. Just press circles, join them with a line. Now I'm going to pre-toggle. If I press X before I do anything, you'll notice it toggles construction on and off. Draw a line. Connect the 2 centers. Escape, sorry. And go for parallel to the outside edge. 2 3/4. And we want it to be centered again because they don't tell us where they are. So let's go through the stuff. Same approach, we get to do it again. Move into the center, stick it on there. Draw another line from that center to our origin. Make it parallel to, again, just use the top edge again. We can now dimension things, like for example, oh, hold on, we've already had this 5/8. I'm gonna escape out of that. I'd like to reuse that number. So what I can do is show dimensions on the first sketch, right? So I can see them while I'm working. Do dimension again for this guy, and just simply pick that dimension that's controlling the size of the width of the slot, D10 in this case. Make these equal. We get 2 holes driven by this number right up here. It's perfect. Right, so you can adjust these while you're here. What's missing here? Oh, where is it? 1 1/4 from the inside edge. Dimension. It's kind of in the way over there, 1 1/4. Now, things aren't still not completely defined here. What's missing? The 2 3/4. We also have to do is dimension the length of the line. We get tired of typing the space and we know what the value is, 2 3/4. We can also just type it in. Finish the sketch. Missing the hole. Just simply toggle this guy by running it again and say okay. Perfect. We're kind of done as far as they're concerned. You can hide the sketch. If you don't like seeing these dimensions all the time, or you can show them all, we can just hide the sketches. Perfect. Again, if you're not seeing color, Shift N. Sorry, my caster's turned off because I think it's making my computer chug. So we've got a good looking thing here, except for one problem. In this part, like we've now replicated it nicely. This edge, we know if this thing goes into fatigue, this is bad news, right? This is a corner. Hello, fatigue failure. So we should put a fillet to this. Again, the temptation is click it once and press fillet, do a whole new feature. We shouldn't do that because we have this fillet here. Hanging out at the end of our history, add a selection, give it like an 1/8. Right, there's lots of room here. We're not quite sure what has to be fastened on here. Go for an 1/8. All we're doing is adding more to the feature, so you can have lots of rows here. So I tend to see fillets at the end of the history. Perfect. And that's not bad. So this is the end of our first video, just getting it set up, getting it modeled. From here on, we're going to have another video how to attach some assembly parts, some fasteners. We'll put some 5/8 inch fasteners on those two holes and kind of figure out, or at least explore how to do that. There's two main methods here for fasteners in Fusion these days. And we'll also talk a little bit about mesh. So that's the end of video 1, how to model our adjustable clip. Thanks for watching. Over to you.